Hey everybody, this is Mack Slaughter with Trust Technology Consultants, and welcome to the November edition of our Trust Technology Chat. I've got Spencer Taylor and Brian Kleinertz with us today. We're going to take a kind of a broad approach and just talk about some of the things that you may want to keep in mind as you get prepared for your 2025 budget as far as technology goes. It's always a good idea to kind of end the year, think about where you've been technology-wise, and get prepared for the next year as you start to build your budgets. It's always better to prepare for those things instead of be retroactive on some of the situations. For us, we've been really thinking about investing in some different applications, possibly some hardware upgrades. So as we're thinking about all that, we're preparing our budgets and asking our various vendors, what we need to be thinking about from that perspective. Spencer, what do you think is a good idea for some of our customers to think about as they get their 2025 budgets in order?
Well, first of all, I just want to say it sounds weird saying 2025. It's hard to
It
believe it's on
does.
us already.
Yeah.
But no, a lot of the same. Just I know a lot of people planning for the next year. This will be the time when you kind of plan out how much money is going to go towards this or towards that. Some people's budget may have ended by now for the year. It's not good. Doesn't go with the calendar year. But yeah, just time to start looking at next year and what you may need as far as communications or, like you said, hardware. That's anything from your data network down to the anything around your office that you need to spend money on this year. Now is the time to start looking into that. Um, yeah, trying to think. Mine went blank there for a second.
Yeah, well, and it's hard. And I think
Yeah,
that's a great example right there. Like we're at the end of the year. Somehow we're already here. And you're telling me I got to think about next year? I just want to think about turkey and stuffing and gravy and presents and all that fun stuff. I don't want to think about, you know, the rest of
yeah,
this
because
malarkey.
it's kind of now that I'm thinking, it's hard to think about some of these things now, but come January, February, like you said, it's going to hit you, and you're going to be like, oh
Hmm.
wow, I didn't plan for that, and so that's conversations need to be had.
Well, and sometimes businesses have budgets they need to spend at the end of the year.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're allocated or tax purposes they need to pay for. I know in government, a lot of times if you don't spend it one year, you lose it the next year. And I think a lot of businesses act that way. Um, I think I would really tell customers to review all their policies, their insurance policies, as they get ready. You may already be in your renewal period, but think about your added uh, solutions like cybersecurity insurance. If you don't have cybersecurity insurance, that's a huge thing to take as a task to review through the end of this year as you begin 2025. A lot of people may not be aware of this, but policies, your general liability policies used to include sections for cybersecurity coverage. A lot of those have been excluded now because of how complex those have gotten over time. So making sure you review that with your insurance broker or your cybersecurity analyst, that is always a huge thing to review. Um,
And that's not going to be a short conversation. That's going to be a long one. So
mm-mm,
the earlier you start that conversation, the better, because it's like everything else. All cybersecurity insurance companies aren't created equal. So,
absolutely. And each policy too.
yeah, yeah. And like you said, the provider you have now may not even offer what you need,
Hmm.
or you may not be eligible. Like I said, those conversations need to be had.
Absolutely. Brian, what you think?
And talking to customers, I think one of the things that we could be looking for is really that we've just kind of alluded to is having this conversation about what is 2025 and beyond going to look like and start really forecasting on how to start making some inroads. I know we are really locally here dealing with a lot of needing for a second connectivity,
Hmm.
internet being a real big deal. Well, we're also, that means with our opportunity to talk about budgets, we should really be talking about SD-WAN and why that would benefit someone who is looking at a multifaceted internet connection and just really going at looking at, I mean, just because we did this before doesn't mean necessarily it's the best option for us now.
That's a great example. Another thing that people have to consider a lot of times are lead time too. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to get a secondary internet connection, depending on who your primary is, if you're going with another carrier, there could be lead time built into having to build a fiber connection to you, coax connection even, and those things take time to get uh, designed, installed, permits pulled. I mean, I can tell a story real quick about a customer that we've been working with for months, months and months, and the local provider is doing everything they can, but they're waiting on the municipality and the railroad
Mm-hmm.
for a permit. And the customer knows they want a second connection. They know they want SD-WAN, and we're just the paperwork, waiting on
And
the paperwork to go through.
the closer you get to the holidays, the harder that's going to
The
be.
worse it gets. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And then
Yep.
when you get on the other side of the holidays, everything's got to catch up.
Yep.
Mhm.
Holidays are always a good time to, kind of work on some of those rainy day projects because things do tend to slow down. Um, but that means when you get started at the beginning of the year, so is everybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
it tends to be kind of hard to get the ball rolling because everybody is.
And you mentioned earlier, I thought about you were talking about people needing to spend money before the end of the year, different companies. I mean, we've had that happen a handful of times that we've had customers ask us, hey, we know we need this next year. We're not
Hmm.
ready to do it yet. Let's go ahead and buy it now and implement
Yeah,
it in February or January or March. So those are all doable things that, you don't have to implement just right as you buy. But yeah,
well,
like
that.
you said, I thought about policies and contracts.
Hmm.
A lot of contracts are 3 years. We just try to need to review where you are in your contract. That's something you should know anyway. Just where you are in all of your contracts.
For sure. I think I was just talking to a business the other day, and they have this auto renewal that
Mm-hmm.
literally has put them in a position to where they are owing six digits if they want to cancel now, and they've
Yeah,
been with them for 6 years and never understood this provision until they want it out, and then of course they get it explained to them nicely and neatly. Knowing your
yeah.
contract is vital because you may want to do a lot of things. You may see a lot of opportunity, but you definitely have to address that part of it.
Talk about that a little bit, Mac. The auto renewal, and a lot of them don't renew for the
Yeah,
whole contract. They do like annual, but there's you got to catch it a lot of times with a lot of these companies before what
30,
inside.
60, 90.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, outside. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Brian just kind of hit the nail on the head. Instead of, I think Brian is tasking everybody, don't have a New Year's resolution, have a pre-New Year's resolution, because there is no time better than now to get it figured out what your contract terms are. With a lot of our customers, we review that type stuff. Um, we go over what the intricacies of that various carrier are because they run the gamut. You can have contracts that auto renew for the original term. You can have contracts that auto renew for 1 year. You also have contracts that don't, and they're what we call evergreen agreements. Once they're out of contract, they're out of contract. But you can either be liable for price increases. You can also be
Mm-hmm.
liable for 50 different salespeople to call you because your name showed up on a list. But within an auto renewal agreement, in your terms and conditions, there's typically a provision for a time period, what Spencer was alluding to. If you are going to tell that carrier non-renewal, non-auto renew, it is dictated you have to do it before 30 days, before 60 days, sometimes before 90. Know what your contract states, get it from your carrier, get it from your trusted advisor. With our customers, we make sure they're aware of all that stuff on the front end. We proactively call them. Sometimes they may have agreements outside of our purview, so we do our best to educate them on all those. But yeah, it's huge. It can really screw up some customers' planning when they
Mm-hmm.
don't really know what they have currently. So, um, well, cool. Any anything else we've got? I know Spencer, you and I, just to tell a story on us, we started dabbling with a little bit of Copilot, a little bit of
Yeah,
AI. We're
yeah.
testing that out just to see if we want to run it company wide.
It's to me so far it's a little it's kind of I've been using Chat GPT for a while.
Hmm.
It's pretty similar to that. The thing I like the most about it is the how it's ingrained into all my Office applications already, with the license that we purchased on it. So far so good. We'll see how it goes if we want to push it out to everybody.
Yeah, I think it's been strong. Not as strong as I wanted it to be, but maybe that was wishful thinking.
I want it to come in and do all the work for me, and
Exactly. That's what we all want. That's what we all want.
but if we
Um,
get that, that's scary.
that is, yeah. But hey, who's to say we're not going to be there here before we know it? So that's probably a good task for everybody. Is just think about where we've been in 2024. How
Mhm.
much we've already talked about AI too many times on these things, but how much we've seen it grown as far as an adoption rate, as far as a feature set, just in 2024 alone. What's 25 going to hold for us? What's it
And
going to look
and,
like?
and I don't want to be the gloom and doom guy, but
You typically
just
are, so it's okay.
well, yeah. So just think about this when you're planning. It's not, you know, 2024 went just like we wanted it to go. 2023, and I'm just speaking for a general customer. Just because everything's been that way, we thought the same thing in 2020, and then everyone had to
Mm,
go home. So I'm not saying that'll happen again. I hope it never does. But if that sort of thing happens, are you prepared for that?
hmm
Is your company prepared for that? I think these are all the things you need to think about because um, whatever contract you're in and however you're under it, you got to go home for 2 months. You're still going to pay those contracts. So
Absolutely.
I think just make sure that basically all of your technology is up to date.
Yeah.
And if you're not, at least get the information on what it would take to get there. You don't have to pull the trigger, but now's the time to start looking into that for next year and the years beyond.
For certain.
Absolutely. If you're always writing your 5-year plan, then you're always ahead of time. Brian, were you saying something?
I was just agreeing with Spencer that ultimately this is just a perfect time to review these things, get out in front of them, even if it doesn't end up being a 2025 thing, having the conversation with your company and yourselves now to where you can start having that conversation down the road because
Oh
something's
yeah.
going to happen just like we've experienced. I mean, COVID, no greater an example of how unique the challenges and everything and all the solutions that we created, to survive that environment may not be the best solution anymore. We've
Very
gone
true.
past that COVID
Mm-hmm.
scenario and learned how to build infrastructure and technologies that can respond to COVID better. And you may not be on that program. You may be still dealing with all the challenges of getting something up and running as quick as possible. And it's certainly a great time to review that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a great pivot point too, because you can also state that even if your contract does come up in 26 or 27, let's just say,
Yeah.
uh, you now get to spend the rest of the year working on that. You don't have to feel rushed. You don't have to feel like you're creating a band-aid, which is what we had um, with what 2020 was. A lot of band-aids, a lot of bubble gum and duct tape and toothpicks. Um, and so now you get to be a little bit more proactive. We want people to just think about this type of stuff when it comes to your technology. It could be as silly as saying, you know what, I want to get rid of all of our fluorescent lights and move to an LED system.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we're going to get smart switches, which will turn on when someone walks into a room and turn off after a certain amount of time. So you need to run the calculations on that ROI to see, it's going to cost this much, but I'm going to have this much in energy savings. Um, you know, with the rise of with EVs, electric vehicles, um,
Oh yeah.
maybe a business needs to think about electrifying their parking lot, whether for their employees or for their customers. Um, destination charging has become such a mainstay for a lot of businesses. I was just at a hotel over the last weekend. There was a EV charger in the parking lot. Of course, I had to stop by Buc-ee's. There are multiple EV chargers there. So, what is it to a business now if you do not have EV charging? I know back in the day, Spencer, you could probably talk to this with Google search results. If your website was not mobile optimized, you got bumped down, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Talk about that when we started developing our website, and I'll bring this around to what I'm bringing it to.
Yeah. When we first built our website, yeah, you're right. We were way down on the list, and then we had to keep making some adjustments in order, for word went blank in my mind, but we had to make a lot of adjustments to get up in those search listings.
And so maybe that's going to be what the next stage is. Your business gets a Google search against other businesses in the area. Is it going to get bumped up in the search results if you're EV charging capable? Who knows? Who knows? So it's something to think about. This is a fun time of year where you get to kind of decompress and look back, and then also look forward and plan with what's coming. So that's kind of what we wanted to leave everybody with, is just be thankful for the year that we've had and look forward to another exciting year. I know we internally are thankful for all of our customers. Truly
Absolutely.
blessed with every single one of them. And with our team here, and just hope everybody can reflect on that as we close out the year. So that's it for me. Thank y'all for watching the November edition of our Trust Technology Chat. Hopefully we'll get these things kind of moved up, and technology-wise, we're trying a few different things. Spencer's in a little bit of different format now. So what you got?
I was gonna jump in and say, whatever platform you're watching this on, when you watch this, jump in the comments there and tell us what other topics y'all would like us to talk about. We're open to discuss anything here. So that's our goal, is just get the information out there, just have conversations about just what's going on in the industry and what different companies and consumers need to be looking for and looking at. So.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right.
Bye, y'all.